Today we're doing a service call on a Manitowoc QM45A. Looking at the machine, I'm looking at my power switch down here. It's switched to the on position and the machine is plugged in, but I'm not seeing any ice. I'm gonna take this front panel off, look at my control board, see if I even have any lights on my control board. Just removed my front panel, and on my control board there is a red light flashing. That red light indicates that the machine shut off on one of these two safety limit codes. Let me read over it and I'll tell you which one it is. So what I did was I clicked this to off, and then when I click it back on, the red LED, which is the harvest light, will flash either one time or two times, and that'll tell us which of the two errors shut the machine off. So it flashed two times, which means, what does it say? My harvest time exceeded 3.5 minutes consecutively 3 times in a row. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Something's going on with our harvest. So the compressor just clicked on. We should be in pre-chill. We're just going to wait, see what happens from here. The fan has not come on yet. Let's see. This machine is not balanced. It's not good. You can adjust that just by messing with this. Water pump just came on, so we're gonna have some water flowing over our evaporator. Fan still hasn't come on. Oh, there it is. There's the fan. We are at the 2-minute mark into freeze. I did take the cover off so I could get a good look at the water pump. Water flowing over the evaporator. It is kind of dirty up in there, but not anything too concerning, like not anything that's going to keep the machine from working. Ice thickness probe has a little bit of scale buildup on it. As you can see, the evaporator looks to be in good condition. It's not separating. One thing that I can check is the curtain switch. If I move this flapper up and down, does it trigger the light on my control board? Yes, it does. 12 minutes into freeze, we have a decent amount of ice forming on the evaporator. Nothing sticking out as of yet as to why this machine shut off, but we're gonna at least wait for it to cycle into harvest, see if ice actually harvests, aka drops off the evaporator. If not, we will move on to the next step. So my harvest light on the control board is kind of going on and off right now. That's because we almost have a complete sheet of ice and we're getting ready to go into harvest. Once that light is on steady for, I believe it's 7 to 10 seconds, somewhere in that range, the machine will cycle into harvest and we'll see what's wrong with this machine. So my freeze time so far is 22 minutes. In the manual it says 17 to 21, but because it's the first cycle, it actually has a note somewhere. I don't remember where I read it. I think it's in the manual that first, what does it say? The first cycle at any temperature will take up to 3 minutes longer. So I'm not upset at 22 minutes right now, and any second now we'll go into harvest. All right, we just cycled into harvest. I'm gonna hit my lap, see what happens with this. I'm convinced possibly that my ice thickness probe is dirty. It's getting wet and then grounding itself out, and the machine is cycling into harvest before there's enough ice formed on the evaporator. And that's possibly why it's going into harvest, or it's going off on long harvest. The reason being that it's going into harvest prematurely before there's enough ice on the evaporator. So that's a possibility. I might recommend that they change the ice thickness probe just as a precaution. I could try cleaning it, but I don't think it's going to get much better. All right, ice is sliding forward. Fell off. That ends the harvest time. 1 minute, 15-second harvest is a great harvest time. I am not upset at that at all. Kind of a weird scenario here. It sucks when you show up on a no pro call. All you do is you turn the machine off, turn it on, and it works just fine. I'm going to clean the ice thickness probe. I've already tried getting it wet, see if it would cycle into harvest prematurely. It didn't, so I turned it off. I'm just gonna clean the probe really well, tell the customer that the machine's up and running and working. If it goes down again, to give us a call. Encourage the customer to try to reset it on their own. There's nothing out of the ordinary that I see, and if it's a real intermittent issue, it's really hard for me to sit here for 2 hours waiting for it to fail one time. I'll just wait till the problem gets so bad that it fails every single time that it gets reset, or the customer wants to start randomly replacing parts without knowing for sure what the actual issue is. So I said all that and then spoke to the customer, and they want to swap out the ice thickness probe as a precaution. It's something that I recommended to them, that hey, just because it's working right now doesn't mean it won't fail in the future. And my theory is that if the ice thickness probe is sending the machine into harvest prematurely, there's no ice to actually harvest, and then the machine shuts off on long harvest. So this is what I'm going to swap out. There's the part number in case you're looking for it. And unfortunately, to take that off, to swap that out, we're going to have to remove this back panel, which is just a bunch of different screws around the outside edge, and then that panel will come off. I'm not going to take this panel off all the way, because all I really need access to is this plug right here, and I'm going to unplug that and push the cable through the wall. So I got it unplugged. There was this piece of silicone that was shoved inside that hole. I just ripped that out, and then this will get fed in, and then you can go around this side, pinch the ice thickness probe from the left, pushing it to the right, and that'll come out just like that. And some of this calcium buildup on here, when it gets wet, it can ground itself out. And yeah, I could scrub on that and scrape on that, but replacing it is a sure shot way of taking care of the issue. Now, luckily, the two plugs for the new and the old ice thickness probe are the same. If for some reason it's a different plug-in, it comes with this jumper. This jumper allows one probe to work for a multitude of different machines, but luckily we don't have to use it. I'm not going to get rid of this, however. I'm going to throw this in my little spare parts bin and save that for later, because it might come in handy. Like I said, it's the same plug, so we don't need to use the adapter. I'm just going to put this one inside here. We're going to check the ice thickness setting before we're done, and then that end is going to get shoved through that hole back there. So normally I would use a pencil, but all I have right now is a pen. A number 2 pencil is usually a good indicator. Put the pencil flat against the evaporator, and the other side of the pencil should barely touch the ice thickness probe. This one, there's a good little bit of a gap, so I'm going to reduce that gap by turning the screw on the ice thickness probe counterclockwise. That'll bring this probe closer to the evaporator. Otherwise, the ice sheet is going to be super thick before it actually cycles into harvest. We are at 21 minutes freeze time. We have a solid sheet of ice. My ice thickness probe still hasn't triggered my harvest yet, so I'm going to slowly take some thickness off of that probe, just using a 5/16. And I'm going to go counterclockwise, and then I'm going to do small quarter turns, and then wait 10 seconds in between each one until harvest is triggered. There it is. Now we are in harvest, and we're gonna wait for this sheet of ice to drop. It's a really good harvest time. Call that about 1 minute and 9 seconds. Good solid sheet of ice down there. So that wraps up that service call on the Manitowoc QM45A. Was kind of unfortunate that I reset the machine. Machine started working just fine. No apparent issues. Like I was saying earlier in the video, sometimes the ice thickness probe has a tendency just because of all the calcium buildup on it, to ground itself out, which is an indicator to the control board that it's touching ice when it's not actually touching ice. I did try cleaning it, couldn't really clean it or get all the calcium off of it. I tried to get it to fail by getting it wet, couldn't get it to fail. So I ran it by the customer. Hey, this is a possibility. If you want to run the risk, maybe it'll go out in the next couple of days, maybe it won't. But since I'm here, do you want to swap out this $89 part? And the customer said, yes, right away, go ahead and take care of it. So I did, watch another cycle, machine worked just fine. And that's it. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, that's awesome. I appreciate it. I wanted to give a shout out to Dan Horan, MT HVAC, Daniel Gomez, Jake Silva, and Connecticut Heating and Air. Thank you all for being channel members. The support really helps out. So we'll see you on the next video. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. See you on the next one.